was okay to be racist, when it was okay to be misogynist, when it was okay for division. This more progressive. All right, what's going on? We're gonna play some skate sim. Session skate sim, I mean. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Here we are. I'm WiiDS RebeL. We're just gonna get some missions done on manual catch mode. Here we go. That you passed, that you just, oh, I believe this is like that. Probably if I just need to be honest and just say y'all go and stick to the facts. Simple as that. Because you can vote for something and you not actually be a person that you do. Like, hey, I want to do this. Okay, I'm part of this community. But what's the point? What's the point? The point is, I want people to simple as tell people about your stance when you were going for what's right. I'm for my right to do this, my other people rights to do this, or you vote to take people rights away. And y'all need to be honest. This is what you voted for. This is quite literally what we need. The video was saying this would be her last video. She had those nice white kids here. She's so upset because her family found out that she voted for Donald Trump, and now a chunk of her family no longer wants to speak to her. She's like, oh my god, it's absolutely sad. They're cruising. They won. Of course they do. However, how you vote also has consequences. Not just on a grand scale, what those elected politicians will do, but yes, on a personal scale. People in your life will have a reaction to how you voted. And you don't get to then claim that you're a victim because people... Oh, did that count? That counted for what I was going for. Let's go. Relationship with you. It's like to say, go harder. This is for...
Alright, so now we're getting to the women who are having buyer's remorse. Look, we got mixed feelings about this. On one hand, yeah, people could change their minds. We should welcome that. On the other hand, where was this energy before you voted? All the warning signs were there. All the receipts were public. All the harm was predictable. It took affecting you personally for you to finally open your eyes.
Finally open your eyes when you finally got hit personally.
Isolated from the consequences. Now reality hit. Devastated. Welcome to what marginalized folks have been screaming about for years.
For years. What, man? I hate when the AI be talking the most truth, bro. I'm listening to some videos that are AI right now. It's not like fully AI. What's going on? It's somebody done wrote a script for AI to say basically, but he's also really bad at like.
It's terrifying because now that you see,
he said some shit backwards earlier. I was like literally like reverse speech.
There could be things that you could relationship very close.
Yo, that was sick, dude.
Find the woman at church. Find the woman and stop laughing at the jokes. And that's what's coming. They're right there. They will help you. And I'm sure you feel.
I love that trick so much.
Here. I just want to say, I'm really tempted to say important so. That isn't going to help anybody right now. You need to just draw a line in the sand and try to look forward. If we cannot get where we need to go, not more people with open arms.
I feel that, but you know.
Have open hearts too. There's going to be a part of you that isn't very involved. What is helpful is for two things to happen. One, if you're a woman who has had your eyes open, help on some little tiny thing or take action. If those of us who are just sleep, or those of your job, manage your Republican Party and MAGA are the same thing? Absolutely not. I grew up Republican and voted Republican my entire life, and the leaders that I admired were incredibly respectful.
I got one viewer, that's for sure. The kitty.
They would never
My kitty
weaponize
watchers.
Christianity because they were not hypocristians. They lived their faith. They treated people with different ideologies with respect, not like enemies of the state. They would never raid the Capitol. I don't even recognize that. They handled hard issues, immigration, abortion, but with compassion. And I think because politics wasn't a game show, it wasn't cruelty for claps. What's happening now, that's not the party that I believe in. This is something else entirely. So, would you vote Republican again? I don't know that the Republican Party exists anymore. This is MAGA. I will not vote MAGA.
So it appears as though the regret is already starting for the Trump supporters. Because tell me why. Back in 2016, I had a friend that I am clearly no longer friends with, and her mom started an argument with me in my Facebook comment section the day after Trump got elected back then, telling me, imagine how they felt when Obama was elected, and I said, oh, no, baby, and then I clocked her teeth. And let me just tell you guys, young Phoebe didn't play, because why was my first sentence, first of all, why are you 40 arguing a 16-year-old? And second of all, while we're here, let me present to you all of the ways in which I know more than you. I say this all to say, I opened my phone today, and she has sent me an apology. 10 years later.
10 years later, she apologizes, and even then, it's not clear if she's sorry for being just sorry she got clocked by a teenager. This is MAGA energy right here. They'll argue with you, mock you, call you oversensitive for years. Then when their worldview finally crumbles, they show up with a half apology, expecting instant reconciliation. And this woman smartly said, nah, I'm good on that conversation. If you were nasty when you thought you were right, imagine how nasty you'll be now that you know you were wrong, but your ego's still bruised. Some apologies come too late, some bridges you burn. You don't get to rebuild. That's called consequences, and it's a beautiful thing.
And it wasn't quite clear if she was apologizing for the lack of morality or for the fact that she was 40 or a 16-year-old back then. But I politely let her know that maybe reconciliation isn't the best idea right now, because if she thought I was nasty back then, she really shouldn't try talking to me about politics in 2025. Is it happening? Are they seeing the consequences of their actions?
I lost quite a bit of friends in 2025, and it's because I voted for Trump. Okay, no, but real, like, I'm talking about friends that I have traveled the world with, friends that I have like a 10+ year rapport with, friends that I've gone to church with, friends that I've shared a meal with, and it's not because I became this extreme radicalized person. It's simply because I stopped being passive. I started being more vocal about politics, policy, social norms, my faith, and it was when I started speaking out on a platform where I started being more vocal, when I started pushing back, when I started challenging people.
Faith is bullshit, by the way.
I started to see relationships switch. I'm not gonna lie, at first it was extremely hurtful to see like the friends that you have sat down with and you've shared certain things with just like all of a sudden ostracize you because of your political views. But what I've learned is that if you are within any friendship where you feel like you have to prove yourself, you have to be passive, they can say all of the things that they support, they can talk about all of the social norms that they support, and you feel like you have to silence yourself, that may not be a friendship worth having. Friends that I have in my life right now know exactly where I stand. Even if we do not agree with each other, they know where I stand and we respect each other's views. It really just motivated me to keep going, keep using my voice when it's appropriate. And honestly, if I'm not able to be vocal about the things that I value, just like you are able to be vocal about the things you value, if it is not a two-way street, then it is not a friendship worth having for me.
So let me get this straight. You voted for Trump. I was a candidate. You mean the guy that said my nuclear button is bigger than yours and mine works? That guy? The guy that said he bombed the hell out of them? Joked about nuking hurricanes and once asked if we have nukes, why can't we use them? That's the peace candidate? The guy once asked the Secretary of Defense in regards to protesters, can't you just shoot him? Just shoot him in the legs or something.
Trump was the peace candidate, I cannot make this up. The man who threatened nuclear war on Twitter multiple times. That's why we have nukes. If we can't use them, he wanted to shoot protesters. And somehow Occupants convinced themselves he was about peace. What he actually wanted was violence between people like immigrants, protesters, people of color. That felt like safety to you. It was never peace. It was just targeted aggression. Now that there's actual war brewing, on after he's repeated, suddenly you're shocked. Shocked that the chaos president brought chaos. You didn't vote for peace, but you voted for cruelty, and now it's coming for everybody.
We didn't want just wanted somebody to go after immigrants. Say, that wasn't peace. That was hate wrapped in a flag. He's protecting us. No, he's just dehumanizing others. You were fine with that until it started affecting you. And now that there's a real war with Iran, you're shocked? Since Trump pulled out of the nuclear deal back in 2018, and that agreement was literally designed to end this war. Torched that deal. Escalated tensions for years, and now you're surprised that it's blowing up. This was never about peace. It was about power. And you just didn't expect it to come back around. You vote for chaos. Don't act. Everyone started running. But you can join us. We got a lot of work.
So there you have it, fam. Trump voters crying about losing friends and family when they voted for policies that actively harm those same people. The shock look at your face is real out here, and looks like you're starting to wake up and realize what they've done.
Shock Pikachu face. That's kind of funny.
Forgiveness without acknowledging it. That's not how this works. Actions have consequences, and your vote is an action. So here's my question for you. You do. Someone in your family voted against your rights and then expected you to just get over it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this video opened your eyes or made you think, hit that like button and share this one. Needs to hear this and subscribe for more real talk. I'm out.
Montgomery, Alabama. Here, make for a sheet White House correspondent, New York Times, and an MSL. Son is veteran financial journalist, but now business analyst and publisher of The Message of the Markets on stuff with that here. Secretary, not that earlier, including asked about the economic pressure Americans are feeling. Think with what he said.
We are cognizant that this short-term blip up in prices is affecting the American people, but I am also confident on the other side of this, the prices are going to come down very quickly. The conflict ends, this gasoline, this temporary aberration will be over in a matter of weeks or a month.
I wonder what you're hearing inside the White House. Are they stuck on this idea that 9 weeks in, the message is still, don't worry, things get better soon?
Yeah, it's a message to the last president either, by the way. I remember President Biden kept telling you, don't worry, inflation will get better. It actually did, but it didn't matter politically. People were so upset about it when it was still high. They didn't give credit. It came back down to a more normal level. And so the problem for the president here politically is that this starts to get baked in, right? This starts to become part of the overall political consciousness. A lot of political pressure will tell you in an election year where the economy stands in June is usually pretty formative in terms of what their attitudes going to fall. That's, by that point, it's hard to turn around their attitudes, even when things getting better. We've seen time and time again presidents bring in polls, even though the economy started coming back, all the good was too late changing perspective. So he's only got a few weeks left to change these viewpoints. It doesn't seem that he has the ability to do that. Secretary Prince is right, and his hands. Economist Ron will tell us better, I guess. I'm not sure that the prices can come down as fast as they could. That's the knock-on effects elsewhere on things like fertilizer. All the things that have been taking a hit suddenly turn around in just a few weeks.
Yeah, and Ron, let's stick with gas prices for just a minute. We should remind people that a record high for a gallon of regular is $5.02. That's according to AAA. Just shy of 4.46 now. Is that what Americans should be bracing for?
So, just today, in fact, oil is $5 a barrel as a result of what appears now to be some
stock market down. And no doubt, as long as this continues, as long as the oil is not coming out of the strain, that gas prices are more likely to go up than down. And even if this whole thing were to end tomorrow, it's still weeks to months before the situation can normalize. And in some instances, there's been damage to oil infrastructure. It may take years to get back to where we were before. So this has a relatively long tail to it. Gasoline prices may come down if everything ended tomorrow. From what it looks like right now, that certainly is not in the cards.
Well, what's the average gallon of regular where you are? It's just a hair under $4. So better than the national average, but Alabama is the state that's among the first in the country. So what are they telling you there? How are folks dealing?
Describe the economic conditions right now as suffocating. I've spent an ungodly amount of time at gas stations in the last couple of months. I've heard stories of people choosing between drinking or eating. I've heard people tell me that they haven't been able to buy their medications because they need to fill up the tank so they can go to work. I've heard people tell me they're walking for miles and miles and miles because in these economic conditions, every drop of gas counts because every penny counts. And here in Alabama, that's no different. 15% of the state lives in states in the country. I've been talking to people all day about changes they've been making in their budgets, their day-to-day life. I want you to know what I'm saying.
Not a lot of things. Come on, there are different ways of something different from what I used to, okay? It costs a lot to keep this car okay? I'm willing to take a slight prices right now. I believe that we're doing the right thing. It's simply just. But also, you got to think about why everything is ridiculous like it is. It's been causing problem with everybody, like financially wise, but
Artists and small business owners. My grandma just had very sad text. Yeah, it's text me back. Cry me.
What's happening in Washington State? There's a big exodus from the local housing market and sellers are in panic mode. There's now 18,000 listings in the state of Washington on the market, up over 300% from the 2022 low. Companies like Microsoft and Amazon are doing layoffs, and the result is declining home values in metros like Seattle. Now, of course, home prices are still very high across the state of Washington, second only to California. However, one has to wonder how long that can last. In a market like Seattle, there's now 7,500 homes for sale as of March 2026. In a normal March, there's only 4,000. That's an 80% inventory surplus. At the same time, the demand to buy has fallen to the lowest level on record. And so the real question is, just how severe is this housing correction in Washington? Yeah, well...
Oh my god, I thought this was a Trump on its Trump. They're saying, Megan is saying that people who don't like Trump have Trump derangement syndrome. They're calling us mentally ill. They're calling us mentally, oh my god. You guys are in a cult. You're in a cult.
Interesting. A Canadian living in the UK has more sense about American politics than half of America. You'll love to see it. If you haven't already, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Let's get it out.
to be honest, these words I never thought I'd say. Donald Trump makes William Bush like Einstein.
So on Monday, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer addressed Parliament, saying that he is not in support of Trump's moves in Iran. And in response, Donnie reached out to the very Trump-friendly British tabloids to say that he is very disappointed in the UK, adding that Starmer has not been helpful.
It's not about supporting the United States of America. The United States of America led by Donald Trump is not our historical ally. He would throw us under a bus as soon as I have another cheese.
I don't think Trump was allowed to play Army when he was a kid. So now he's trying to fill that gaping hole in his heart by launching these attacks against Iran to play defense. or play offense, or support Israel, or overthrow the regime, or sink the Iranian Navy, or save American lives. It really depends upon the hour what the justification is for this war coming out of this disaster of an administration.
I mean, Trump got laughed at by world leaders and still thinks he commands respect.
What ways do you think Trump has changed our politics?
I think he's brought them much farther to the far right. I think he's taken intelligent debate out of politics. I think he's legitimised things like extreme racism, extreme misogyny. He's impacted NATO.
Well, I suppose he leads an example to sort of breakthroughs.
Just look at that Tommy Robinson demo where people feel like it's okay to go and, shout about migrants and, be massively openly racist. And I think that has come over from America.
Yeah, I think it's been worse since Brexit. I think they were protected a lot more with the European Union. But now, since we left, I think they're trying to be close buddies, aren't they? Which is a very dangerous thing.
His support for Farage and his support for Brexit has been enormous.
There's swappers of the bubble, and people feel like they can now. They're emboldened to say things that they just previously thought. And it's just really contagious and unpleasant.
Distracted even further to the right.
I mean, he's certainly been more divisive. Like, around the world, he's been just kind of full partnerships apart, all in favour of himself. And that is the direction we need to be opposing. And we need to be looking at our closest allies, Europe, and just working closely together with them to build an alternative to a future with Trump. Because the future with Trump is terrifying.
I'm so happy a lot of the world has their eyes wide open to this. I mean, the whole world sees what MAGA is. And that's, we're not the only ones still pretending. It's normal. It's insane.
So I'm starting to see videos of Americans getting
Maybe USA sizing us and wondering why we don't rise up against our fascist-ass government. And I just want to say to all the Americans that are getting defensive and complaining, shut the fuck up. We are pathetic. We are cowardly. We are complacent. And we are just pathetic. We are genuinely one of the worst groups of people to ever fucking exist. And history's gonna look back at us and ask the same goddamn question. Why were so many of us so willing to sit by, keep our heads down, and watch this shit happen right the fuck in front of us? We are only 4% of the global population. There are 8 billion people out there, and we impact almost every single one of them to some degree. Okay? We are the motherfucking bad guys. We impact the entire globe. Our foreign policy literally kills tens of millions of people. If you look at the last decades, century, but this is a history. This is objective fucking reality. And there is no excuse good enough that you can offer up to people outside this country. We are fucking every single day that would rationalize why we're not rising up against this shit. We are the bad guys, and we deserve all the motherfucking criticism and so much more that is coming our way right now. I'm sorry that you're just now waking up to the reality of what the fuck we are, what the fuck we live in, and how much we impact people. But when they say that our problems inside this country are small compared to how we impact the globe, they are right. Our internal policies impact 4% of the world. But guess what? We impact 8 billion people. The other 96% of people that don't fucking live here, they're still impacted by what we fucking do. But you're so individualistic. You're so selfish. You're so me. You think your petty little concerns are bigger than rising up against the worst motherfucking government possibly that ever exists when you consider the technology that we have at our disposal. When you consider how embedded we are with the financial system across the world, when you consider the reach of our fucking military and its global presence, we are arguably the worst people that ever to fucking exist when you consider our impact. So we deserve all the fucking criticism. And if you don't like that shit, I can only assume it's because you're not doing enough.
Totally fair. I mean, they voted for cruelty in the grand scheme of things.
God.
They voted for cruelty. And now act shocked when the world calls them out for it. Again, it's a factor of they voted for it as long as it wasn't them that got affected, but now it is, and people awaken.
In response to my last post, I'm going to say it and I'm going to say it again. I have always been anti-MAGA, and I will always be. Because the people who are in MAGA, clearly they're not true Christians at heart. And another thing that gets me so frustrated and so angry that they're taking my religion and just totally trashing it by literally claiming that this dictator is the Messiah. That is absolute blasphemy in the highest order. So yes, I am anti-MAGA because people who are like me, who are real true Christians at heart, We actually
Well,
take
yes,
them
Kaufman's are.
from teachings of Jesus Christ and within the Holy Bible,
Your mother.
unlike them, who still continue to degrade and insult the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
Great. Actual Christians know Trump is the furthest thing from Christ. It's insane you have to say that out loud and, knock some sense into people. MAGA just, they need a golden calf, essentially, is what they need.
In America and Germany, I've been getting a lot of questions from people back home asking what here in Europe about the protests with Donald Trump. So, yeah, I will be there too if I were an American.
If it's going against your rights, you have to protest.
It's wild. Every day when I open up the news and see what's happening, I just ask myself, what is next?
I think it's good that people are standing up for their rights. If a lot of people united, I think they're gonna make a change.
Like when Trump was elected, a lot of people had a lot of hope and were like, okay, Trump is gonna do good for our economy. I think it's pretty fair to be upset right now if you're American.
The votes not for them, but I don't really believe that. Because of the system.
I think it matters that they're raising their voice. I think that matters.
The rest of the world gets it. Yeah, they're rooting for Americans fighting back, but still, a lot of the world just doesn't like Americans in general because of how just everything looks.
As Europeans, I cannot understand why people would hate now the MAGA person. Kind of too seriously. I wouldn't even be able to have a long conversation because all I hear, I'm down, I'm down, I'm down, I'm down. In Europe, I'm just okay, but for like, I don't care what people will for here, but Trump is a whole other level because you guys are one of the most powerful nations in the world. He could go on Europe if he wanted to. So yeah, it's very important to me you guys vote for it. Not European, imagine being an American. But you guys act as if she's anti-Christ.
Yeah, most political choices are definitely debatable. Voting for a convicted felon who tried to end democracy isn't one of them.
Breaking news, everybody. The people of Ireland just named Donald Trump the worst thing to ever come out of America. In a new poll by BBC, they polled 70,000 Irish people between December 2024 and January 9th, 2025. The participants were simply asked to list the worst things to come out of America and the best things. And the worst things are, coming in at number 1 is Donald Trump, followed by the owners of Manchester United FC, Kardashians, the NRA, that's understandable, George W. Bush, yep, the Iraq War, that goes hand in hand, Kanye West, the love of guns, also the NRA, Ron DeSantis, makes sense, and Dick Cheney, and the Irish people listed 14 things that they thought were the best things to come out of America. And you guess what number 1 is? It's Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Netflix, Melissa, Steven Spielberg, Star Wars, Ben & Jerry's ice cream, Coca-Cola, Friends, I guess they're talking about the show, Facebook, Levi's, AMC. So there you have it, folks. Do you agree with the people of Ireland?
Ireland looked at our entire history and decided Trump is worse than anything we've ever produced. Just let that sink in. That's pretty big.
Because I stand against fascism.
Trump is a genocide enabler.
They're trying to turn us against each other. We've got to stand together. Stop investing at home if you're not happy about it. You have to actually do something about it.
Oh my gosh.
And ceremony all rolled out for him, and we are gathered here united to say this is not in our name.
We could be using that money for criminals to fund free meals, use it to heat people's nose.
When there's a lack of an alternative to the echoing divisions and poverty in our society, we need an alternative, and that's where we need the strength to come together.
We do use to say it is legitimate dissent. And that's how we build a movement. That's how we build something bigger than us to oppose and overwhelm the far right.
It is impressive the breadth of the coalition that has assembled here today. What's crucial now is about translating this into actual political currency and building some unity across these groups in a way that translates itself electorally.
Amazing. Europe sees him funding genocide and calling it diplomacy. They're not buying the act, and that is absolutely beautiful to see. And we've seen that. You know, Europe and other nations, they're standing on business, for lack of better words, when it comes down to it. And that's absolutely beautiful to see. Guys, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel with all notifications on, because we post every single day actively and will continue to into the future. If you haven't already, check out all of the other videos we have, already over 100 plus, 150 plus, I believe. And I'll catch you in the next one.
So, I'm John Turkey. Join us. First of all, later on, I'm going to be joined by civil rights attorney Charlotte Eiffel's going to be joining us. We're going to break down all the Met Gala looks. And time permits, Trojan Bluebirds. Alright. As I'm not at the Met Gala tonight, was invited. I invited a Cindy. 1997. I guess you're pretty like goodbye. It's close. Got paddle. I think I'm gonna invite you. I don't remember their name anymore. It's what is this? Obviously the big news continues to be our situationship. Ceasefire, friends, bomb attacks. Because as you know, Friday, next story, 60-day free trial. President's hit to 2 wars. 60 days. Was last countries. Then decides on this. Just going to use it. So much. It's going to be big news when Trump asks for official permission.
Trump signaling he will not seek official permission from Congress to extend the war.
He's not going to seek official permission. He was kind of under the impression that not his choice. Would be, I don't know. I remember how Trump does him. Well, that would be accountability they said illegality. Trump said illegality in a speech in Florida. Supposed to attain congressional, what they call a military operation. You know, they don't like the word. And they call it a military operation. Is that way they don't have a word? You don't have troops. Can't you explain to me? I've been around out there. Here. Right down this cashier. Yeah, they get a few. Oh, I say, well, it's because I don't like chicken. So, I say water, I get it for free. But to be clear, we'll be drinking soon. But my plan is to use the warm water. Don't avoid any, what you call it, thinking. That only works if the discipline is maintained as a solution that we are in. No, I can get it. You know, war. What do you? Here's
Mr. Listener. Divide by 2. Subtract 93. Divide by 9. Heard a lot of people begin, but I got it right. So what's that? Well, the wife must know that they had some being against funds. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I apologize. Too soon? What should I say? The monkey can handle it. One thing is, seems to be almost getting spoiled with age. Because this is how he handled math questions 20 years ago on the Howard Stern show.
It's a entire question. School business. 17 times 6.
What is it?
That's practical.
96. 94. 1.
Practical application, though.
I'm on the same page. It's 11. It's 11, 12.
This isn't a real number. That's two numbers just placed side by side. This is the 2000s equivalent of 6. So, I apologize. I know you're a genius. Try again. 112. 112.
It is 112?
112. Yeah. So that is correct. It's still wrong. It's 102. But somehow we're supposed to believe that 2 years later, you turn into a genius. You turn into a working class janitor. MIT solving electronics between London House. I can't believe it ever gave Trump. Trump is a strange. He sees himself as the whole tradition presidential. He's not now. Chance. What's his first? Very well. It's not looking too good. Celebration is still in his house. Trapping someone for signing moments. He built a Kim Jong-un-esque giant gold statue of himself and his direct customers. He's gonna be on our passports. Our passports. Whenever you go through, whenever you travel overseas, you're gonna have to do the search. We don't know. How out of export trust last week. Actual already intervenes with you. It's not our constitutional law. That can come back on my nose with
The highest respect for the United States Congress, this citadel of democracy, created to represent the voice of all American people, to advance sacred rights and freedoms.
oh shit, no, oh shit. What's the British one? Silver platinum. Charles did his first the list of all the hard
That executive power is subject to checks and balances, the rule of law, certainty of stable and accessible rules, an independent judiciary delivering impartial justice. Let our two countries rededicate ourselves.
All right. for to me to read the case. Examination found that we must read the case. I'm gonna stop you before you go full touch club owl. Oh, thanks. Let's give up hunting before we get to the plane. You heard him. You heard the king. He's just standing in front of me. Asking me to honor the king. Itself, the principal constitutional text house. Military outfit. It's still a masterful budget. Has fewer of those than Congress in the first year of history.
We have another bird alert, and this time it involves something that happened on Capitol Hill. These birds were in the hot seat during the House hearing led by Idaho Republican Congressman Mike Simpson. The hearing was meant to highlight efforts to preserve these birds of prey.
Georgia is attached. Instead, it ended in church. Congress people still showing up for bird shows are the best. People don't show up.
GOP New Jersey Representative Tom Chamber hasn't voted since March 5th. Kane has missed more than 50 votes. Top GOP leaders are in the dark. It's a mystery in the Capitol Hill. Fox contacted multiple members of the House GOP leadership. None had any idea about Kane's whereabouts. One member of the Republican brass told Fox that Kane's absence didn't worry them, quote, until you called.
I'm saying around here, it's just more birds for us, huh? There's little government even means any. This was designated survivor. Who would be tasked with rebuilding our nation? You can actually have House correspondence. First, ways to take control of the United States government. Would have been Senator Chuck Grassley. Was in his 90s. Where's the designated survivor who will lead the country? In the future, the guy who will lead the country in the future, statistically, doesn't have much of one. But actuarial tables-wise, he would not be expected to survive uneventfully. Too soon? What? You're hoping that our judiciary will step up and get the guardrail against stealing ambitions? Aren't you a bunch of nominees for confirmation to our federal court system? Few rules.
Mr. Parker, if I might, just tell me about the 22nd Amendment, which is about having the opportunity to use the right specifically. States no person shall be elected to the office of the president or Mr. Mark, is President Trump eligible to run for president again in 2028?
Senator, without considering all the facts, looking at everything, what the situation is, this strikes more hypothetical.
Is he eligible to run for a third term under our Constitution?
I would have to review.
Anybody else brave enough to say that the Constitution of the United States prevents President Trump from seeking a third term? Anybody willing to apply the Constitution by its plain language in the 22nd Amendment? Nobody. All right, let's move on.
All right. declared the game. Topless rappers, all places to each return. Hold the politicians accountable. It's not here. Plus 1,000. It's nearly 2 times more than wage. Plus thousands more pretty much every other time.
No, we have more than we've ever had. Because all over the world has it this way, and we should take that and repeat it. Right now, we have more than double what we had when this started.
Sounds like bullshit.
Except for our house.
What you're saying is, at the beginning of the war, we had this one ball. And then... So? What? And we used to bomb Iran, and now apparently we have... Clearly, this makes no sense. It's nonsensical on its face. The reports have all been reporting back there. Some of this is nonsense.
He said it in the class. Thank you. Will you go to it?
How about
What did you say?
You're gonna be home. It's only 5 days, sir. You can preview the event. You talk about the cars. What do they need?
And by the way, having to shout questions if you're not going to listen to the answers. We need you to help us litigate boundaries of our reality, not move on to peaceful problems. Get someone for the first time.
I love you, Mr. President. I need you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
But then you shipped away our credentials. It's courage. This was the only accident. I genuinely don't understand what this country has become. When every one of our institutions are failing. Is there any hope for the democracy to inspire? These past 2 years. Is there any you can call the lessons of our American Revolution that inspired this nation to its founding principles? This, our children.
Let our 2 countries rededicate ourselves.
Is the King of England? We are.
latest update on Porn Rock, which is that there is no update. It's still happening, you know? I'm starting to get worried about my river cruise this summer, straight from Memphis. Probably wrong too. But don't worry, because Donald Trump's doing everything he can to wrap it up.
Flying any more 18-hour flights every time we want to see it in paper. Doing it telephonically and with screen notes.
Telephonically? Man, that's an impressive movie, you know? Almost sound like a I ordered a large meatloaf telephonically.
Telephonically.
Be clear, that is a word, but he didn't know that. It's the way I play Scrabble, you know? It's just like, oh, wow, I was just throwing letters together. How many points is that? That was from yesterday, during an event Trump did with the Artemis astronauts and the chief of NASA. I don't know, Trump loves space, so he has the utmost respect for these professionals.
Sir, considering getting NASA's headquarters out of D.C. once the lease is up, states like Texas, Ohio.
Well, the best man to tell you that is Nixon, if I don't think a good question. Political leaders in this.
Wow! He's just standing there like, good one, sir. Haven't heard that since grade school, and I didn't think I'd hear it again, but I did. In my 40s. The president. Trump just can't resist being a bully. He's sitting there like, they see his face, no one can scream, except for this guy, right? Look here. These astronauts do not look happy to be there. They're like, this is the most uncomfortable I've ever felt. And 2 weeks ago, I was pooping in zero gravity. So let's move on, because while Trump was here shaming astronauts, the Supreme Court was.
This morning, the Supreme Court delivering a major blow to the landmark Voting Rights Act.
The court's conservative majority, 6-3. Louisiana's current congressional leader with 2 majority African-American districts is unconstitutional, saying lawmakers allowed race to play a part in government decision-making. Democrats blasting the rule, arguing that other majority black districts are now vulnerable to being erased.
That's right. The Supreme Court saw it's dedicated to black congressmen, and they were like, oh, what is this? Let's take all this back. Thanks to the Supreme Court, black districts have been erased all across the South. It's horrible for civil rights. Civil rights movies we're going to be making, you know? This is fantastic from like a Denzel perspective. And obviously, the Supreme Court didn't come right out and say that states are just Palpatine isn't that dumb, alright? Played it much slower.
Just as Samuel Alito writing, race can only be taken into account when there's evidence that a state intentionally drew its districts to afford minority voters less opportunity because of their race.
That's crazy, right? So just to be clear, for Alito, the map is not racist unless the guy drawing it finishes it and goes, man, I'm racist. Watching this whole thing unfold, and you're thinking to yourself, this is racist. Public have ran.
I think after 60 years, after the Civil War, it's time that we didn't have a race-based reason for doing things.
In 2026 in the United States, the reasons to use race for line drawing deliberately that were to remedy discrimination in the South 50 years ago no longer exist in America.
Say, modern examples. Voters have been racially discriminated. And America has come a long ways. Like, it has so it's the end of pretending that this is a racist country.
Racism's on. Like, how the hell is this right here works? So, I just thought when racism would be over here
like a civil rights leader or something. Not a guy who looks like a racist version of the dad from Modern Family. It almost feels like we're going in reverse because in the 60s, in black and TV, we're like, wow, this country is being pretty racist. We should pass some legislation. And that legislation it's like it's come to declare the Negro League. Believe in rights more than our representatives now. What these people don't get is that to the extent that there's less discrimination now, it's partly because we have the VRN. So this is like my throw away his medication because he said his heart wasn't bothering him. And to be fair, he did stop having heart problems because he's dead. The most brain-breaking things about this ruling is it's literally taking power from black people in the South, and it was voted for by a black guy from the South. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is black. You might not know it, but he is black. How could you, of all people, vote for this, Clarence? You were like an uncle of all. Uncle Clarence Thomas. Uncle Thomas for short. Uncle Tom for short. You don't have to pretend. At the end of the day, we all know this decision was not about moving on race. This is the Supreme Court majority handing a win to Republicans. I know that. You know that. And Republicans typically know that because their leaders.
Well, I'm voting right there. This morning, we see everybody's here voting right at that. It's through the wood vote.
Always count on Trump to get right to the point. Like, it's with Republicans. Did you guys hear that? I know this guy did. On the peeling back of the voting rights, we go live to Republican headquarters with Ronnie Check.
Josh. Yeah, they're partying like it's 1964. Multiple guys snorting cocaine off of Stephen Miller's peanuts.
Oh, that's gonna swamp the whole country.
Oh, no. I don't think his peanuts is big enough to affect the whole country, Josh.
It's the Supreme Court ruling.
Oh, right. Hey, guys, I'm filing a report here. Can you check into the whole thing? Okay, thank you. Jeez. Sorry, Josh. Yeah, what were you saying about Stephen Miller's penis?
What is it? Black people are being disenfranchised. Aren't you worried about Asian people too?
No.